You're listening to the Whole Hog Sports Podcast. And now, here's your host, Matt Jones.
We'll talk Razorback baseball today with Kendall Rogers of D1Baseball. Interested to get his perspective on a lot of things, a lot of big items going on this week around the sport. Want to tell you that we're brought to you by Eggland's Best. When it comes to your game day, you want the best in your lineup. That includes your eggs. Eggland's Best delivers more of the nutrition you need with 6 times more vitamin D and 25% less saturated fat than ordinary eggs. You can score now with Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs. Visit egglandsbest.com for more information. Also brought to you by Bentonville Glass. They've been serving their community since 1971. They're committed, professional, and versatile. If you're looking for a quality leader in Northwest Arkansas or looking for skilled craftsmanship, look no further than Bentonville Glass for all your glass market needs with the highest quality products. You can come by and see them now at 507 South Main in Bentonville or online at bentonvilleglass.com. Kendall Rogers, you know his name. One of the most trusted voices in D1 baseball. He joins us. Kendall, let's start with projections right now, regional projections, because that's, that may be the hottest story on your site probably every time you put those out. There is a thought here that just will not go away that Arkansas might be able to host if they do enough down the stretch the last couple of weeks. We'll see what happens in Hoover. I'm of the belief that they're probably not going to be able to because the resume is just not strong enough. You've got them right now as a number 2 seed. Do you think there's any chance Arkansas can host? And if so, what would they have to do to get to that point?
Yeah, I mean, there is a chance. Absolutely. I mean, looking at Arkansas's resume right now. So the one good thing for the Hogs, and I kind of talked to somebody about this last night, is when you look at like the bottom couple of seeds, I'll be really honest with you. Oregon State was our 15. Oregon was our 16. I feel like Southern Miss and Florida State in that 14-13 spot are probably in pretty good shape unless they tank the last couple of weeks. But those last 2 spots, I'll tell you what, it is wide open because Oregon State's RPI continues to tumble with each game they play. Dax Whitney, their Friday starter, is out for the year. He's the best pitcher in college baseball, and he's not pitching again this year. So you got to feel like they're, with those bad RPI teams, they're probably going to lose a game or two the last couple of weeks. Even if they lose one game, they're probably dropping into the 20s. So I just really wonder about Oregon State staying in there. And then Oregon, that was, again, this is a projection. We're looking ahead. We're making the assumption they at least win one game against UCLA and win the USC series. If they don't win that the USC series, maybe USC hops in here. But like Oregon was not some sort of slam dunk number 16 team. So when you look outside of those clubs, is there an obvious candidate? There really is not. I mean, Nebraska would be in the mix at 17 the RPI, but they're going to have to finish strong. Virginia's 500 in the ACC. Wake Forest, one game over 500 in the ACC. Boston College would be another team to keep an eye on, and West Virginia, especially BC. If they win that Georgia Tech series, they're at 17 wins in the ACC. That put them at 19. I mean, I gotta feel like as a Northern school, they're going to host. But I'll tell you what, again, it's a lot of like hypotheticals. If this doesn't happen and that doesn't happen. But let's just say Boston College loses that GT series and West Virginia loses that series to Kansas this weekend. Well, then it's really wide open for the Hogs. I mean, you're looking at a situation where let's just assume you win your last 2 series against OU, Kentucky. You go into Hoover at 17 and 13 in the league, and your RPS probably 23, 24. You win a game or 2 in Hoover, and it absolutely could happen. 100%.
Yeah,
if that is what happens.
Probably about beating the right teams in Hoover too. I think that makes
absolutely
a big difference.
Yeah, I don't have the bracket in front of me. I don't see where they'd be matched up with right now. But I mean, just kind of breaking down the metrics a little bit because that's what's that's kind of how the sausage is made when it comes to the postseason rankings and things like that. I mean, they do have 11 wins against Q1. The thing that's interesting to me, when you compare that mark to some of these other candidates like Nebraska, 8 wins, Oregon, 8 wins, West Virginia, 5, Boston College, 8, Wake Forest, 6 and 14. I don't think Wake even gets in the mix with that bad of a record against Q1. But then you look at Arkansas, they're sitting at 11 wins against Q1 and 15 against Q1 and Q2. That stands out. So, again, I'm not saying they're going to do it, and I'm to this point with Arkansas where like I'm sure you kind of feel the same way. Where like on a given weekend, I'm not 100% sure what to expect. They remind me of Florida a little bit. Like they can either look incredible or you're like, what the heck just happened? But if they win those last 2 series and win a couple in Hoover, it absolutely is within striking distance. I do feel like they kind of control they control their path a little bit here.
You mentioned those quad one wins, and I had that written down here. You look at it, there's only 6 teams in the country who have more quad one wins than Arkansas. Florida's got 15, Georgia Tech, Texas, and Alabama all have 13, and Auburn and A&M both have 12. Arkansas and Ole Miss both have 11. But the one thing that stands out to me, too, about Arkansas is that they've got the 3 quad 4 losses. And among the teams that are in the regional hosting conversation right now, Florida's the only other team who's got 3 Q4 losses. And I think it's kind of similar what's happened to Arkansas and Florida. There have been some midweek games that have kind of, I guess, trapped them a little bit. And how much, like when it comes to quad 1 wins or quad 4 losses, what do you think the selection committee looks at more?
I think they look at what you did in your conference. I mean, I'll be really honest with you. I think if Arkansas is at 18 or 19 conference wins, that would be including the SEC tournament. I don't think those Q4 losses even matter. I mean, because for the most part, they're midweek. I think two of them are Stetson, and I believe
UT Arlington would be the other one.
Yeah, the Kalen Diger game or whatever for UTA. That was a Friday game, but again, those other two. I just don't think it matters if you win that many games in that league. And at that point, you're probably sitting at 13, 14 Q1 wins. I don't think it matters. I really don't.
It's going to be different this year when they are signing, say, like number 2 seeds to number 1, because they've got this. I'll call them quadrants. So. For people who don't know, I'll explain it here. Let's say the number 1 through 4 overall national seeds, they will be paired with the 29 through 32, 5 through 8, 25 through 28, and so on and so forth. Like Kansas is a team that is, I mean, they're almost certainly going to host. They're leading the Big 12 by 4 games right now. Let's say that Kansas and Arkansas end up in the same quadrant. Does the 4-hour bus ride from Fayetteville to Lawrence, does that become a consideration? Does proximity become a consideration between those teams that are matched up?
Yeah, they do. I mean, if you're in that quadrant, it doesn't matter. The best example to make it the least confusing is this example. If UCLA is a number 1 national seed, they are paired with someone in that 29, 30, 31, 32 group, right? Well, if the 29 team is UC Santa Barbara and the 31 team is, let's just say, Texas State, even though UC Santa Barbara is not the 32, they're still going to send the 29 team to the 1, because it makes no sense to send UCSB to Texas or Texas A&M or whatever and not send them down the road. So it's going to be one of those weird things where I don't think they're actually going to. I mean, they'll announce the quads, but I don't think they're on the actual bracket the way we do it. I don't think they're actually going to put those numbers in there, because it would be confusing if the 31 team is going to the number 1 national seed as opposed to the 32 team. So geographical considerations are definitely in play when it comes to those specific quads. But remember, for those who don't know, if you're not, let's just say you're the number 1 through number 4 national seeds, and you're paired with 29, 30, 31, 32, you cannot be paired with a team that is like 26 for any reason.
I think this is good for baseball. I remember in 2021, Arkansas was the number 1 national seed, and they sent Nebraska here, the Big Ten champion, who I think they were right outside the hosting conversation. Maybe they were 17 or 18. And boy, that was a hard that wore Arkansas down playing Nebraska. And then they got a hot NC State team that came in here in the Super Regional, and we all know what happened. I feel like this is a good thing, because in every other college sport that I know of, you protect your higher seeded teams. It happens in March Madness. It happens in the college football playoff. It feels like it should happen in baseball too.
No, I would totally agree. I mean, this protects to some degree, right? But I mean, those number 3 seeds could still pretty much be anybody. Those number 3 seeds, for the most part, are going to be all geographical considerations. One of the perfect examples of that is this week in our projections. We had A&M hosting Oklahoma State and UTSA. As a UTSA being the 3, I mean, that would be a really tough regional for a number 8 national seed. But because of geography. That's UTSA is going to have to go to Austin or College Station, and they were in Austin last year, so they're probably going to College Station.
Well, they were in Austin.
If based on today.
They were in Austin last night. They gave them a heck of a game too.
Yeah, that was the first time. I think I saw a stat. That was like the first time Texas has beaten them in like 5 tries or something.
Is that right?
UTSA's kind of had their number.
Texas had a grand slam in the 8th inning to win that game.
God, that was a meatball too. Like I'm pretty sure I could have probably hit that to the warning track.
Was it 483 feet that Carson Tenney hit it?
Oh, it was that. I mean, it was blood. I think the left fielder might have taken a step.
Yeah, no, don't waste your time, right?
Yeah.
So the selection committee, we know that they put a lot of stock into RPI. Like last year, I think that the lowest RPI team that hosted was 19. So we know that that's a big number or a big metric that the selection committee uses. We've been told they're going to use this DSR, Diamond Sports Rating, and also is it the KPI that's also going to be used this year?
Yeah, the Kevin Palga Index. I want to say they use it for basketball too.
What are these like? What do these numbers mean, and how are they different from RPI?
Yeah, so the really interesting thing, KPI is a little bit more convoluted. I'm not as in tune with that one specifically, but I know DSR, based on just kind of the work we've done with 643 charts on DSR, is it really kind of came about because right now all over the country, I think North Carolina just announced a impending weather cancellation against a team that's 2 hours away, which I thought was kind of funny. I mean, you can kind of figure. I feel like you can kind of wait that one out if the school is literally an hour and 45 minutes away. But to each his own. But I mean, you're seeing a situation now where teams are canceling because their RPI is going to drop. And one thing the DSR does, it's more of a predictive tool. It's like it's giving you points based on what are you expected to do against that team. So like if Arkansas is expected to take 2 or 3 from Oklahoma, and they do so, you tend you get rewarded for it. So it is one of those tools where, like, if let's just say you're predicted to lose that series, you get rewarded pretty handsomely by winning that series. The other thing that's interesting about DSR is the opponent, like, tanking doesn't matter. Like if Arkansas plays Stetson, they played them on March 7th through 9th. If Arkansas plays Stetson, let's just say Stetson's good at the time. Stetson being terrible right now means nothing. Like it's not tanking Arkansas's resume. On the same token, if Arkansas played UAPB tomorrow and UAPB's 245 in the RPI, it doesn't hurt them. Whereas right now, a perfect example again, kind of going back to last night. A&M decided to play Prairie View A&M, who's like 301 in the RPI. Aggies started the day at 7. They're now 11 in the RPI just because they played the game. A game they won, was it 16-7? And now they dropped 4 spots. The DSR, that would not, be possible. So it just kind of fixes some of these things that, that we always gripe about with RPI. And the other interesting thing I like too about DSR is margin of victory to an extent matters. If Arkansas comes out and, blows out OU all 3 games, like, you get rewarded for that. And it does cap at 10. So, back, if you remember back in the BCS days, coaches would just, Mike Leach was notorious for it. If they were up by 28 or 30 in the fourth quarter, they're still passing because margin of victory mattered. Well, DSR caps at 10. So if you're Arkansas and you're up 10 on the team, whether you're up 10 or whether you're up 18 runs, it doesn't matter. And so I do like that it caps, but it does reward a team if you have a double-digit win. So, that's kind of the gist of it. I do tend to think it favors the SEC teams just a hair, but for the most part, I like how the metrics stacks up.
How do you think Arkansas finishes the year? They've got OU, they got Kentucky left, and then obviously Hoover.
I'll go with series wins in both of the series. And the tournament just depends on the matchup, right?
Yeah, it's so hard to figure out now, especially with the single elimination.
Yeah, it's kind of tough to even know. So if Arkansas finished 17-13, they're probably 5th place, more than likely 5th place in the SEC. Which again, probably puts you in a pretty good spot going to the tournament as long as you don't just lose one game and go home.
Oklahoma comes in here this weekend. They've been kind of a hard team for me to get a read on this year. It's like they'll play really kind of like Arkansas and Florida, but maybe to a lesser extent. They'll play really good, and then it's not so good. And I guess they just had a pitcher injury last week too. That's worth monitoring.
Yeah, I mean Cam Johnson was kind of banged up. I'll be curious to see if he's in that, in that injury report going into the weekend. I
Hmm.
mean, the biggest thing for him, he has had arguably kind of the strangest year I've seen for anybody. I mean, if you go look at his numbers, it's 29 walks in conference play, 32 strikeouts, but oh by the way, a 156 OBA. Against opposing teams. So, yeah, I mean, obviously he walks some guys, but I mean, when he's on, he's really good. So, I don't think it was very serious based on what I was told over the weekend, but we'll see kind of how things look going to the weekend. But you're right about OU. I feel like they're just one of those clubs that, from a pure offensive standpoint, they will be versatile. Like they will try to do something, they will try to hit and run a lot. They're going to they're going to try to steal some bases. Brendan Brock to me is one of the more kind of neat players in college baseball because he's a catcher who, by the way, has elite speed. He's one of those guys that if he gets on base, he can wreak havoc a little bit. So I don't think Oklahoma offensively is a team that can overwhelm you. But what Oklahoma is offensively is a team that if you give them opportunities and walk guys, they will 100% make you pay for it. And then what I mean by that, they won't score 8 runs in an inning, but you look up on the scoreboard and it's, on the line score and it's 1-2, 1-1-2, and everything just kind of accumulates for OU.
Hmm.
So, do I think they're dangerous? Yeah, because if your pitching staff's not on, they can cause a lot of trouble.
You broke the story earlier this week that ABS is going to come to the SEC tournament. I have seen enough of these experimental rules that come to Hoover to know that it's only a matter of time before it gets to the regular season, whether it be the double bag or the pitch clock or the communication devices. So when do you think this makes it to the regular season?
I guess we'll see how Hoover goes, right? I mean, the biggest concern I have, to be honest with you, is in the big leagues. Everything kind of originates from the manager in the dugout, and I was talking to somebody on the rules committee yesterday, and this will originate with the batter, the pitcher, or the catcher, and I mean, that concerns me a little bit because if you're Arkansas and you've got your freshman pitcher out there and he thinks he's being squeezed, I mean. And you're not, and you only have 2 seconds, so you can't look over to Matt Hobbs and go, "Hey, should I challenge?" Like you can't even look over to your dugout. So, I mean, how many kids are going to go like that to their, you have to tap your hat to get it challenged? How many kids are going to do that and they're actually right? You're going to end up with like 19 ABS challenges in one game because you're going to get overzealous pitchers or overzealous catchers who just think they're being screwed, and so let's go challenge it. And oh, by the way, like they're right.
It's gonna be interesting to see how this works, and there's a cost.
Yeah.
There's a cost to this too. Like from what I'm told, to outfit your stadium with this type of technology, it's a pretty expensive endeavor, and
Super
so I think
expensive.
that could be what prohibits it from getting to the SEC, say by like next year. But it feels like it's a matter of time before it gets to SEC. At least.
It'll get to for sure. It'll get to the SEC. I mean, the problem I run into is like I don't know if it's even feasible at this point to make it for the NCAA. Because I mean, for the NCAA, you're already got a lot of costs with the NCAA tournament in baseball. So you're going to spend all this money for your championships to have these systems in all of these different stadiums. And it's not like I mean, somebody can correct me, but I don't think you can just get this thing up in 3 days. Like I think it's a pretty significant process to do it. So. I don't know if the SEC will do it next year or not, because if you can't do it in the NCAA championships and no one else is doing it other than maybe the ACC, like kind of what's the point?
Well, I mean, you've also got all these programs, like here at Arkansas, you just had college tennis cut. Everybody they're worried about the bottom line, and I can't imagine that there are very many college baseball programs that are going to kind of have the cash on hand, so to speak, to put this into place. It feels like it's going to have to be NCAA conferences step up and provide.
Yeah, maybe
finances.
the SEC just does it on its own.
Yeah.
They sit there and fit the bill for all these different ballparks to have it. But yeah, it'll be interesting. I don't know what DVH has said about it, but I know some coaches in the league that I've talked to like it, but they're a little weary just because of what I said. I mean, we could end up, in a situation in Hoover where, every other inning we're getting 5 or 6 challenges. So we'll find out who the good umpires are pretty quick.
Yeah, we'll find out who the catchers, the strike zone are pretty quick too, right?
What's his name? Jeff Head was very popular in my mentions yesterday. Good Lord.
Well, he wasn't bad over the weekend. We've seen some worse umpires through here this year. Jeff does a good job. Kendall, you do a great job.
I'm just talking to you, buddy.
Yeah. Kendall, you do a great job too. Appreciate you coming on.
You got it, man. Thanks, Matt. See you, bud.
Appreciate it. Kendall Rogers of D1Baseball. They do a great job there at D1Baseball. You can read all their regional projections there right now. Of course, they've got Arkansas, as we mentioned, the number 2 seed in Tallahassee. It's interesting. Baseball America and D1Baseball both have Arkansas as the number 2 seed in Tallahassee, but they go a different way to get them there. We talked about those quadrants. Arkansas in D1Baseball's projections, Florida State's the number 13 overall seed. Arkansas is the number 20 in Baseball America's. Florida State's the number 12 overall seed, but Arkansas is the number 24. So it's interesting to see how those two different publications view the Razorbacks differently. Again, it feels like, and you could hear there with Kendall's comments, the D1Baseball folks, I think they're a little bit higher on the Razorbacks than the Baseball America people are. But it really is going to come down to the committee and what the committee thinks about Arkansas. Interesting to hear him say that he thinks Arkansas still is in the regional hosting picture. It just feels like with a 30 RPI, it's going to be very difficult for Arkansas to get there. And, of course, the Razorbacks, they got to win games, and it starts this weekend with OU. It's going to be a 6 o'clock first pitch on Friday night. Arkansas will end the season with Kentucky next week up in Lexington. I want to tell you that at our website, wholehogsports.com, we're going to have a story later today that I think you're going to want to check out. I've been talking to people in Houghton, Louisiana. This is where Christian Turner is from, and that town, as you might imagine, is abuzz after his walk-off home run to beat Ole Miss the other day. We're going to have that on our website later this afternoon. Hope that you'll check that out. Razorback softball at the SEC tournament right now. They're going to play Mississippi State today. We'll have coverage from that game as well. Everything going on campus. You can read about it at our website, wholehogsports.com. I want to tell you, too, you can subscribe to our podcast. We appreciate you listening or watching wherever you're watching or listening today. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. We put our video version on YouTube, also on our social media channels on Facebook and Twitter. Just on any of those platforms, search Whole Hog Sports. Hope that you'll subscribe, like our videos, share them. It'll certainly help us. These are free podcasts. Certainly, we want to keep them that way. And so we appreciate you participating, listening, watching, wherever you are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter. We'll be back with another podcast tomorrow. Bubba Carpenter will be here in studio. We'll look ahead more in depth to this Oklahoma series. It's a big one for the Razorbacks, the last regular season series here in Fayetteville, maybe the last series of the year for the Razorbacks at Baum Walker Stadium. Hope to see you then or at our website, wholehogsports.com. Have a great day, everybody.